Hello, guys, and welcome to 1220 Kitchen UK. I'm Isabella, or Izzo, as a lot of people know me. And today we are making some very easy mushrooms. And I'm showing you this because it is a great base for so many dishes. So I'm trying to show you some simple stuff that you can do to enhance your cooking. So I've got here with me, let me switch to my trusty, not so trusty HD cam. And so I can show you, I've got a mixture of mushrooms here. We've got king oyster, oyster, and shiitake. We've got one nice clove of garlic because I'm only using one because I know how this one tastes. It's quite strong. I've got parsley. I've got chili, just to add a little bit of extra flavor. I've got my favorite umami, which is very important to add flavor, salt, and good cooking olive oil. Extra virgin. I tend to use extra virgin quite a lot. And yeah, so this dish is quite good for many different things. I like to use this for risotto. I like to use this as a side to my meat. It's very good with meat. It's a great side dish and main dish, especially with your risotto. You can also have it with some polenta. Further into the winter, I'll show you how to make really nice polenta. Yeah, let's start. The first thing we need to do, I'll turn this a little bit, is to uh, separate out your mushrooms. Actually, that's wrong. The first thing you need to do is to start flavoring your pan. By flavoring your pan, I mean you need to add a nice amount of olive oil and prepare your garlic and put it in and turn on the heat. We're crushing the garlic. Oop. Because we crushed it, it peels very easily, as you can see. Done. So we crush it again. There we go. That's truly crushed. um, and we put it in the pan and start to heat it up. So the olive oil gets the flavor from the garlic, and the garlic also browns a little bit because we want to have as much flavor as possible. As I said last stream, it's very important to crush your garlic because it creates far more flavor than if you slice it. So yeah, it's a good spot to start. Let me move this off my board. So now that our olive oil is gaining flavor, let me show you how to sort the mushrooms. So you can't just put all your mushrooms in the pan. You need to sort them because they'll cook at different times, and I'll show you how easy that is. So we have shiitake, it looks like this. We have king oysters and oyster mushrooms. So we'll separate those out, and I'll show you, they all get treated a bit differently. And I will show you what I mean. I like to keep my mushrooms quite chunky. And there's nothing worse than having just like no mushrooms. So I've sorted them. Excuse my phone. There we go. The next pot, we'll put our rubbish in here. Again, this is going to the side. These are all the same. These in here. And they all have different cooking times. So it's important, if you want the best out of your mushrooms, to give them the right cooking time. Because you don't want some mushrooms that are overcooked and a bit slimy, and then other mushrooms which are undercooked. We just don't want that. There we go. The rest goes here. And the last packet. I'm doing quite a few because they reduce. They're almost like spinach, where you cook loads and they just reduce to nothing. Good, these are nice and big. You can do it also with one type of mushroom. I'm just doing a mix. But if you have the button mushrooms, do the same thing that I'm going to do with the shiitake. There we go. We've got everything on our chopping board. So now the first thing we need to do is remove the big stem from the shiitake. You see this big stem? What we're going to do is we're going to remove the bottom part because that's the part that's been next to the dirt. So we remove it and we put it in our little rubbish thing. And we'll do the same for the rest of them. There's not many. So if you have like chestnut mushrooms or brown mushrooms, just do the same. Just remove the end. You don't want to remove too much because you actually want to keep them. So remove and clean. Remove and clean. This week I've been doing a few Insta stories on my Instagram instead of the stream because I've been a little bit busy. So whoever follows me on Instagram, I hope you enjoyed those. So now we've got just a few of these little stems. And what we need to do, because they're much more dense than the mushrooms, we just chop them up nice and small. Chop them up. And we should add them to our pan before any of our other mushrooms. I'm going to put this in a little bowl for now so we have them ready to go. There we go. So they're chopped up relatively small. Here you can see they're quite small. Obviously, we don't have many shiitake mushrooms, so we don't have many of these stems. If you had more, obviously, you start off with more. But it's important to brown them in the olive oil right at the beginning because as they're harder, they give more flavor and they just get cooked completely. For this, I'm going to use my trusty wooden spoon because as we know, we don't use metal on metal. There we go. This needs a bit of time to warm up. In the meantime, while this is warming up, I'm going to cut my shiitake mushrooms. I like to do them first in slices and then just once in half. There we go. And then again in slices and once in half. For your knives, it's very important to have a sharp knife. Strangely enough, a sharp knife is safer than a dull knife. And this is because a sharp knife will go through the food instead of jumping off and cutting off your finger. We don't want that. That's not fun. I've had a small incident where I've chopped my thumb quite badly with an avocado. And apparently that's like the third or fourth highest incident in A&E, which obviously before the pandemic, which I didn't know. I don't wash my mushrooms, by the way, because these mushrooms are grown industrially. So they actually never see real soil. All their soil is, yeah, just fake soil. Unfortunately, that's the case. If you do have mushrooms that you get from a farm or from somewhere else that might have dirt on it, the best thing to do is just brush it with a brush, nice stiff brush, And you can peel the caps as well, but if you do need to wash them, just wash them very briefly, pull them out and dry them really well. You don't want them to have any problems there. I like to leave these whole because they are quite nice. They kind of replace meat in a sense, a nice little steak. And what I do with these ones is instead of chopping them, I just rip them up. So we rip them up into segments, as you can see. Let me do one closer, just rip them. They pull apart very easily. There you go. And just rip all of these. The garlic is starting to smell really nice because it gets aromatic once you start cooking it. There we go. All nice and ripped. So we're just prepping everything so that when we're cooking, we can cook quite vigorously. Because the last thing you want is a soggy mushroom. Soggy mushrooms are not nice. There we go. There we go. Almost there. And we've got this last one. So now the garlic is slowly warming up and becoming a bit more aromatic. Make sure to turn it so it doesn't burn on any side. You don't have to leave the garlic for a very long time in your pan. As long as you can start smelling the aroma, you know that it's imparted flavor. Hi, Josie. Welcome. Um, but yeah, I love the taste of garlic, so I always leave mine in. But some people, even in my household, don't appreciate garlic as much as I do. Break it up a little bit. And what we're going to do, we're going to add our second layer of flavor, which is a little bit of chili. I use this, which is quite good. It has dried chilies, dried tomato, black pepper. It's a really, really nice mix of stuff. And I use it a lot for meat, mushrooms. I'm going to turn my extractor fan on, but you shouldn't be able to hear it. So I'm going to put a nice, not too much because it's just meant to be a background flavor. I haven't put too much. And as you can see, my olive oil just about coats the pan. There we go. How did the ricciarelli go, Josie? Okay, so this is becoming a little bit more aromatic. And what we're going to do is add the stems of our shiitake mushrooms. There we go. They're not much, but as I said, it's better than just throwing them away. You can add flavor and they just need to be cooked a little bit more thoroughly. So if you had a big basket of button mushrooms or chestnut mushrooms, you have a lot of the stems, and this is exactly what you need to do with them. Remembering to cut off the bottom and then chopping them up relatively small. I mean, you don't need to measure them, just smallish. And cook them through a little bit. Too lazy, so I didn't do it. Okay. I don't blame you, it's a Sunday. I do like cooking on a Sunday, but sometimes, you just need to be in the mood to cook. And because we all need to cook with love, we need to do it when we're feeling it. There we go. So I don't know if you can hear, but it's sizzling nicely. Our garlic is almost cooked through. And what we can do is, in a couple of moments, move on to the first type of mushroom that we're going to cook. We're going to cook them all in the same pan, don't worry. But we just need to start putting them in at different times. It's obviously much easier if you have one type of mushroom, just bang it in all together. Um, but I find that you get a better flavor profile if you mix up your mushrooms. There we go. So at this stage, what I'm going to do is add this great umami paste, which I've talked to you about a few times now. And it's great because it adds so much flavor in so little time. So you can see if I do it here. There we go. So I add like a teaspoonful. And I like to cook it out a bit. I use it a bit like tomato paste. Tomato paste, you can't just throw it in unless it's a broth. You need to kind of cook it up. If you're slow cooking things, then you can throw it in when you want. But doing something that's relatively quick, you want to cook out the ingredients a little bit. And this adds so much flavor because, as I was saying on the last stream, umami has porcini mushrooms, it has anchovies, it has seaweed. It's just this really strong, nice flavors. There we go. So we're starting to get a bit of color in our pan, which is quite nice. It's a good sign. Still going to try and break up the garlic a little bit more, so it's hidden a bit when the person who doesn't like garlic in my household eats it. Okay, we are ready to start adding our mushrooms. So the first mushroom I like to add is these nice thick ones. So I tried to put them in flat. And what I'm going to do is spin them occasionally or flip them over, spin them, and cook them a little bit like steaks. And you don't want to crowd your pan too much because the thing about mushrooms is they have a lot of liquid in them. And the way to extract the liquid is to either overcrowd the pan or to put salt. So I'm not putting salt at this stage, as you can see. I will put it on later. I'm just going to grab a drink because I am a bit thirsty. Okay. Feeling better already. So what I use when I'm cooking mushrooms, so I use two different utensils. I use these and this. So this we'll use to mix everything, but at first we'll use these to uh, flip these guys over. So you can see they're taking the color of what we were using in the pan. And I'm on like moderate heat. I'm not on very high heat. Let me start flipping them over. Thankfully, they get smaller, so I'll have space to add more mushrooms in the pan. And there we go. If your garlic starts burning, mine isn't, but if it starts burning, then you can obviously take it out, put it on the side, and then add it back later. It's cooking up quite nicely. So usually when I make these type of mushrooms, I like to make pasta afterwards and use these mushrooms to flavor the pasta, and it's delicious. And it's just a quick and easy thing to do. The mushrooms which you're happy have cooked enough, you can just put them on the side of your pan, in the cooler part of your pan, so you have space to add more mushrooms. And let's add some more of these mushrooms. These are the ones that take the most time to do. Otherwise, the other ones you just throw in. So this is the most time-consuming part, let's say, of this dish. Let me flip these. These ones I'll add to the ones on the side. So you can see I'm doing making a little Jenga pile of mushrooms on the side, just so they're par cooked. They're not fully cooked; they're just par cooked, so they can cook at the same time with the other mushrooms. Put some more. And the heat is relatively vigorous, as I said before, so that have to, we don't boil them basically. We want to cook them. We don't want to boil them. Because when you either put salt too soon or have your pan too low or crowd your pan too much, then you start boiling the mushrooms, and that's where you get that really slimy texture, which I know a lot of people don't like. So you might need to add some olive oil while cooking. I'm still okay because mushrooms absorb a lot of olive oil, just like aubergines do and courgettes as well. Yeah, I'm going to lower the heat a bit because it's not time to proper heat it up now. Take these bigger ones. Keep on going. So yeah, if you guys start to do any Italian recipes, I'd really like to see them. I'm going to post my social media. So if you guys, let's see, that doesn't work. Is 1988 underscore. That is my Instagram. So if you guys want to follow me on Instagram, see other recipes, or if you want to uh, send me your recipes, which would be amazing, I would love to hear from you. Go move these ones on the side, and let's find any more big ones. Okay, these are the last big ones left. Okay. So I've been very thirsty today. I had some prosciutto for lunch, and it was a little bit saltier than I would have liked. And so I've been drinking water all afternoon. Okay, so now we've pie cooked all the mushrooms. We can start stirring them around in this pan. As you can see, they've already changed color. They've gone a nice darker color. And this is due to the shiitake stems and the umami that we put in earlier. The next mushroom I like to put in is the shiitake mushrooms, which are these ones, brown, with they've got the brown tops. There we go. And with them, I'm gonna put all the smaller pieces of the king oyster mushroom. So now we're starting to throw everything together, which is great. I'm still not putting in the oyster mushrooms because I like to put them towards the end. There we go. And my heat is still relatively high because, as we said, no to boiling mushrooms. Big no. If you don't have a pair of tongs, you should invest in them because they're actually really, really good for cooking. They are almost my main tool now when I'm cooking. You need to get a good pair. I got these on Amazon for like £5. They're great. I've got this one and the shorter one. And they're just really good for when you need to spin your stuff around, picking stuff up and pasta. So they're great. You can really control the food much better. So we still haven't added any salt, which is fine. We're gonna add it once all the mushrooms are in, and we're about 3/4 of the way through with the cooking. When I use this to make pasta, uh, I like to do something that many people might find strange, but well, Italians might find strange, which is to put Philadelphia in my mushrooms and use that as like a cream to coat my pasta. It's great. Really, really good. Okay, let's leave them for a moment to cook out a little bit. We could, oh, these ones are missing. I'll put these on the side. And in the meantime, what I'm gonna do is chop up some parsley. So I've washed my parsley and now I'm gonna chop it up because we put it on at the end. It's not really a garnish. You kind of need it to separate out the flavors a little bit. And the easy way to chop your herbs is if you hold your knife like this and then put 3 fingers on top and just do this action and it becomes like a mandolin. So you just do this and it chops quite nicely. And you can chop your herbs very, very fine like that. I do it with garlic if I need to mince it. And if you see any big stems, just take them out. So I've chopped these quite finely and cleaned my knife. I can now put my knife away, well, clean it and put it away because I'm done with it. There we go. Let's stir our mushrooms again. Yeah, they're reducing in size now. So let's add our last mushroom. So you saw there's only a few minutes of cooking in between the different mushrooms, but it makes a difference because you can really overcook mushrooms and you don't want that. There we go. So all our mushrooms are in. Then we'll just stir up all the flavors. I haven't added any extra olive oil because the mushroom hasn't had the opportunity um, to absorb too much of the olive oil because we've cooked it relatively rigorously. If you put them into a cold pan, then your mushroom's going to act like a sponge and just absorb everything. And then you're just putting more and more olive oil, and we just don't need that. And it's expensive. Okay, let's give that a little bit of time to cook off. Let me show you another secret of the mushroom. If you can buy this, there we go. It's the powder and it's just dried porcini. I'm not adding it in because I've put the umami in, which already has that powder, so you don't need to put it in. But if you don't have umami, you can put this mushroom powder. Another way to intensify the flavor is to use wine, or you just put some wine in towards this stage of the process and make sure your pan's quite hot so it evaporates. Or you can use some stock as well if you don't want to use wine. I like to do them quite dry and let the mushroom flavor be the star of the show. But some people don't like mushrooms, so what can you do? Not everybody's perfect. So these are looking quite good. So we put 3 packets of mushrooms in here, and they've disappeared to basically looking like one packet. But that's good. That's good because when they're reducing down, it reduces down also the flavor, which means it intensifies the flavor. So a reduction means an intensification. And this is the case with everything. If you make broth, for example, and you find that it's not salty enough, just cook it off, reduce it down a bit more, and you'll find that the natural flavors just enhance as opposed to adding salt. This is looking good. At this stage, I'm now finally going to add some salt. One way, that way, correct. Add a little bit more, and then close it. Always make sure you close your salt because salt absorbs so much moisture. If you don't close it, you might find it being clumped. Hi, Holly. We're used to some salt in Overwatch. My gosh, yeah. If you ever need some extra salt, just log onto Overwatch and play healer. That is some salty stuff. Holly, so what we've done, we've separated out our mushrooms, put them all in at different times, and now we've just finally added salt. And you can see the mushrooms seem a little bit soggier, and that's because we've added the salt. But the heat is still quite vigorous, so it will not become like a big mess. My cat has awoken. I don't know if you can hear him. He's very loud. If you have any questions about mushrooms, feel free to ask. I'm tempted to start growing my own. They sell these great boxes, which are, hi Jay, salty. And when you're back, mayhem is on. Oh my gosh. Yeah, mayhem. I might have a gin and tonic before joining your mayhem because that's a lot. Yeah, I was saying that I was thinking of growing my own. They sell these great boxes, where on Amazon where you can start growing your own mushrooms, and apparently they just keep on growing and growing and growing, so it's not an issue. I hate mushrooms, but I'm still watching. Oh, Holly, thank you. Well, if you make a suggestion on something Italian that you like, I might make it on stream, especially for you. So let's put it a little bit higher and leave it to cook on a more moderate heat so that we can get a little bit of texture, and then we will be almost done, which is great. But yeah, so I was thinking of growing my own, which might be cool. I have a dark room where I could grow them, but I feel like I would start doing it and then stop. I don't want to just have loads of mushrooms. Oh, I'm so famous. I can buy followers now. That's great. Nice. Let me try and delete that. Ban you. Delete message. Delete. Nice. Um, yeah, I feel like I would uh, just abandon them, and I don't want to do that. And also, it's so easy to buy mushrooms. So not really any point. I might show you as well how to make a nice pasta with this. Uh, because it's really, really worth doing fresh. The important thing we need to do now actually is taste our mushroom. So we've got some mushroom. I don't want to burn my mouth. Okay, they're almost cooked. They only need a little bit more salt. You can taste the garlic, you can taste a little bit the chili, you can taste all the umami flavors, but it just needs a little bit of salt to bring everything together. So let me add that. What you can do as well, you can add a little bit of soy sauce. I like to use, instead of soy sauce, something that my friend gave me, Lena. She gave me something called this. It does not look great. It sounds horrific, like literally liquid aminos. It sounds like you're doing a chemistry thing, but it adds so much. It's basically spray soy sauce. But it adds a lot of flavor, and I've been using it. I just used 4 sprays. I've been using it a lot for meat. I made a bolognese ragu with it, and it was fantastic. It adds a lot of meaty flavor. And that's what I like to do with mushrooms. I treat my mushrooms a little bit like flavor wise. So now that we're almost cooked, before I taste it again, I'm going to add my parsley. I'm going to do this because otherwise it's not going to work. Add my parsley. And stir it up once more. I'm happy this is making you hungry. It's making me hungry. I'm considering making myself some pasta. Actually, what time is it? 7. That's not that early. I often eat dinner around 8:30, 9 o'clock, as my friends know. And so 7 would be very early for me. But what I will do, you should. What I will do is I'm going to make a pasta dish. Actually, you know what? Let me do it on stream so you guys can see how it's done. This has turned into a tutorial on how to cook pasta. There we go. First thing we need is a large pot. A little bit more water. Okay, this has begun. Hi, I want to welcome. We started off with mushrooms, but now I'm a bit peckish, so I'm gonna make this into mushroom pasta so you guys can see how I do it. I'm gonna taste this again. Let me turn this on and put it on maximum so we get somewhere today. So these, as you see, no water has come out because of the vigorous heat. So all the flavor has stayed inside. Now I'm gonna turn these off because they have arrived to their destination and taste them one last time because it's very important to taste your food. Break up the garlic a little bit more. He's soft now, he's cooked. So yeah, Holly, since you don't like mushrooms, I'm prepared to do a stream next week on some Italian dish that you like. This is gonna be hot. I'm gonna burn my mouth, aren't I? Perfect. I don't know if you can hear it, but it needs to have a little bit of bite because otherwise you're just eating mush, and we don't want that. So now that heat is off. That heat is off, and we're looking quite good. Let me put them all to one side so you can see them all. So we went from having a full pan to like half a pan of stuff. It's looking good, it's tasting good, and it's making me want pasta. I can feel it. I want it. I don't know if my mum and dad want it, but that's what they're having for dinner tonight. Just popping everything on this side so I can remove my uh, mushrooms from the heat because otherwise they are going to burn. And I'll show you how to turn them into perfect for your pasta. Let me remove these so we have some more space. And we need to, let me switch cameras. We need to choose our pasta. So what I would ideally choose is a fettuccine, which is like linguine but flatter. But I don't have any. This pandemic is causing me to have issues with my pasta. I've got linguine. Spaghetti, no. We can do it with short pasta. Let's do a nice short pasta. So these, which do you have? Yeah, I have loads of different types, but not fettuccine, which would be ideal for this dish. But this was unplanned, so this is happening. But different pasta goes with different things. You have dried pasta, which is this, and you have fresh pasta. And the important thing is when you're cooking dried pasta is to look at your cooking time. So here we've got, you probably can't see it, but we've got to cook it 13 minutes, but to have it al dente, which means with a little bit of bite, it'll be about 11 minutes. And when it comes to the cecco, that's actually really accurate. But then there's some pasta, like for example, rummo pasta, which I find you need a little bit longer cooking. But obviously, as usual, the important thing is to taste. I'm probably going to use about half a packet because I want this more to be a mushroom dish as opposed to pasta with mushrooms. And yeah, so usually farfalle, I would use it with like creamy things. And linguine you usually use with pesto, cannelloni used with like lasagna style dishes. So each pasta serves different purposes, um, especially if you have, for example, rigatoni, which is the tube pasta with lines in it. That's made on purpose to hold sauce. So if you have something that's tomatoey, you eat that with it. So every pasta has a reason for its shape and a reason why you use it in that dish specifically. And what you need to do when you're cooking pasta, which is very important, is to have enough water for the pasta that you're cooking. Because if you don't have enough water, it will come out quite sticky and not cooked properly. So you need to have enough water so the pasta can move around. And also it's quite starchy. So if you move it around, the starch goes into the water, which is very good. It's also important to keep the water once you have finished cooking as well, because you can use that water to make the creaminess in your pasta. And also, what else? You don't need to put olive oil in your water. It's absolutely no need. If you cook your pasta properly, it won't stick. If you take it out and leave it on the counter and don't mix it with anything, obviously it's going to start sticking. So you don't want that. Water's boiling soon. Um, so no olive oil, lots of water. Follow the cooking time. I follow the al dente cooking time because what I do is when my pasta is ready to come out and it's had its 11 minutes, I'll taste it. If it's just slightly a bit too hard, that's perfect. I like to take it out and put it into my sauce. So I'm putting the pasta to the sauce. I'm never putting the sauce on top of the pasta. That's not how we do it. Um, so you always put the pasta to the sauce that's in the pan and then finish off the cooking. Yeah, this pasta is really good. And finish off the cooking together. Because if you finish off the cooking together, it mixes really well. And that's exactly what you need. But, well, this is my computer camera. This is my HD cam, and I feel like I look a different color, right? I don't know. And it died last stream, and this stream it seems to be working. So I'm quite excited. So let's see. It hasn't died on me yet, so I don't know. My water is almost boiling. You need to make sure that your water is boiling. Before putting your pasta in, you also importantly need to salt your pasta, your water. How do I know how much salt to put? You put salt until it tastes like seawater, basically. So, strangely enough, you need to taste your water as well. It sounds a bit grim, but it's definitely in the end because you don't want pasta that's not salty enough, because it's very difficult to then put salt in your dish if it already doesn't have um, flavor inside the pasta. So it's very important to do that. Not too different. Okay, I'm glad it didn't look too different. I need to remember also to face the camera. Um, yeah, so no, I use this pasta. I mean, if you can buy Italian pasta, that's great. It makes a difference. Whatever pasta you buy does make a difference. But if you can't, it's not a problem. Just make sure you cook it properly. Make sure you leave it with a little bit of a bite because I'm more from the south. I like it a bit harder than people in the north. But yeah, you cook it to how you like it, to how your family likes it. Just please, please, please don't overcook pasta. It turns into a horrible paste, and I don't like it. I want my pasta to take like 2 minutes. Um, so yeah, we use Di Cicco, which is a great basic brand. We also use another pasta which you can find relatively easy here now, called Rummo, uh, which is very good. But yeah, try out different pastas, see which one you like best. You don't need to stick to one. Um, Experiment, buy a packet when it's on sale, and yeah, see how it is. My water is boiling. Let me put this on the side, and I'm gonna add sea salt. Mm-mm. I lied. I'm gonna have to add table salt. So we've run out. This pandemic's making me run out of sea salt. How dare it? So I put a healthy amount, as you can see. I'm gonna taste it now. Watch me burn my mouth. I'm here for all the burning mouth entertainment value. Okay, needs a little bit more salt. It needs to taste basically like the sea. That will be enough. And now that your pan is boiling, we can add the pasta. So once you've added the salt, the boiling will go a little bit down. Make sure it comes back to a boil. I'm try and open this pasta graciously, but I'm not the most graceful. There we go. And whilst it's cooking, I'll show you how to prepare the mushrooms for this pasta. Okay, so I said I was going to use about half a bag, and let's see how much falls in. Okay, that's about half a bag, I think. I'm just going to cover it again to make sure it returns to a boil because it's very important that it's boiling. What we can do now is return our mushrooms to the heat. And on a very, very low heat, we can warm them again. And what I'm going to do to make this nice and creamy for the pasta is I'm going to use Philadelphia or cream cheese. What you can do instead as well is just use straight up cream. But I don't like using cream in my pasta. So I prefer Philadelphia. It already has a taste and it works really, really well with this. My thing is boiling again. I'm going to use this to stir it. Caught it just in time. And occasionally stir your pasta so it doesn't get stuck to the bottom. So let me grab some Philadelphia. Oh, I forgot to put a timer. 11 minutes. So that's been in for a minute, so I'm going to put 10 minutes. 10 minutes. So now I'm going to get a clean spoon. And I'm going to finish off this small amount of Philadelphia and throw this away. And start a new one. The pan is boiling quite vigorously. So the pasta is moving, it's cooking well, there's a lot of extra water. which is important. And we'll add about a quarter or a little bit more of this Philadelphia. Come on. Okay. Seal it up, put it back in the fridge. I really should get myself some assistants who'll put stuff away for me. So I need ISO screen time. Okay, so we'll slowly allow this to melt and coat all the mushrooms. I'm going to use, when the pasta is cooked, I'm not going to drain it in a pasta strainer. I'm going to use this to take the pasta and put it into my pan. I'm doing this because, first of all, I want some residual pasta water to go in here. But I also want to save this pasta water because I might need some to bring this dish all together. That's warming up nicely. The next thing we need is some Parmesan cheese. That's very important. So, box grater. I love a good box grater. Oops. And my Parmesan cheese. I love Parmesan, so I usually grate quite a bit. The cheesier the better, I always say. It's my life motto. A little bit more. I use a large grater just because it's physically much easier. There's no need to have the tiny whole grater and you grate 45,000 times and you get like 1 gram of Parmesan. No. We'll keep it sealed and we can put it back in the fridge without having anything else falling on us. It's not nice. Try and take out the air from any cheese you store. It will last longer. And if you can, invest in a vacuum sealed thing that you can vacuum seal your food. It does last a lot longer, even if you put it in the freezer, because oxygen can't get to it. It's not going to oxidize, and things will last much longer. So I suggest it. Here we go. So this is now mixing in very nicely. Make sure all of it is off here. And I'm going to take a cheeky picture and put it on Instagram once this dish is done. I like serving my pasta directly in the pan. Nothing wrong with serving stuff directly in the pan, and it stays warmer for longer. So, win-win. Okay, this needs to warm up a little bit more so that the cream cheese can melt. Let's do this. We're about 5 minutes away. Let's stir this again. And I put my thing on top to try and stop if it boils too quickly. It can foam up quite aggressively. So I've put this one on top just to not allow that to happen. But always keep an eye on your pasta because when it does boil over, it can get quite messy. I know this from lots and lots and lots of personal experience. I've made a mess. And this is a relatively easy stove to clean, but when you're using gas, it's a nightmare. So I'm stirring this, and as you can see, the pasta isn't sticking to each other. It's still gliding off very easily. And that's because of using the right amount of water, which is a lot of water. So even if you have a very little bit of pasta, use a lot of water. It's very important for the cooking. Very, very importante. So this now looks a little bit thick, but the way we thin this out and make this creamier is to use the pasta water. So when it's completely done cooking, the pasta water is full of starch from the pasta, and that's how we make stuff creamy. Like, for example, carbonara is creamy because of some pasta water, because of the egg. Um, it's very important that you keep it aside. The only dishes you don't need pasta water for, the only pastas you don't need pasta water for, is if you're doing a pasta with like olive oil, garlic, and chili, or a pasta that's really, really olive oil based. Then you don't need pasta water. But otherwise, always conserve at least a cup of pasta water. Um, it will really, really change the way your dishes turn out, or the way your pasta turns out. There we go. But yeah, also if anyone else has any suggestions of what they'd like to see uh, on the stream, Italian food wise, feel free to let me know. I'm open to suggestions. I'm kind of doing basic stuff for now. I just want to show kind of like some basic cooking techniques and cooking um, things. But if there's a specific dish that you guys are interested in, I'm more than happy to oblige. We've got 2 minutes left on this pasta. And we're almost there. Let's see here. The Parmesan, I like to put it straight away at the end when I've put the pasta, so the heat will melt it. Let's throw this as well. So we didn't use that many ingredients, did we? We used mushrooms, garlic, olive oil, parsley, umami, some Philadelphia, and pasta. It's not too much. A bit of chili, but that's optional. Uh, and Parmesan cheese, which is also optional. Some people don't like cheese. So yeah, no, we didn't use too much stuff. I'm gonna taste my pasta at this point because remember we put it in and forgot to put the timer on. Well, now's a good time to try it. Okay, perfect. Let me switch this off. Okay. And what we do now is we bring our pan closer. And I'm going to take this spoon out. And because it's perfect, we're going to put it immediately in. So drain it, but not too much. And put our pasta in. So we can get quite a bit of the pasta water into our dish because this is all quite dry, but because we're going to use the pasta water that's got the salty flavor, the starch to kind of bring our dish all together. And because we're using metal on metal, we need to try and be quite delicate so we don't destroy our pans. We don't want to destroy our pans. Our pans are only nice to us, so why should we destroy them? There we go, we're almost there. A couple more. And there we go. So that's all of them in. And now we just stir. And slowly, slowly, it all comes together and forms a nice creamy sauce. I don't know if you can hear this, but when the pasta makes that sound, we say it's singing. And if the pasta is singing, it means it's cooked properly. Because if you've overcooked it, it won't make that sound. It will just go squish. And if you've undercooked it, it will definitely not make that sound because it's too hard. So this means you've cooked your pasta properly. It's a very ASMR sound, I have to say. And we've got it on very low heat. We're mixing everything in. And as you can see, it's gone quite nice and creamy. So what we're going to do now is add our Parmesan cheese. Parmesan cheese, you put as much as you like. This is already relatively cheesy, so I'm not putting too much. And just keep on mixing it. So for me, this needs a little bit more pasta water because you can see it's resisting a little bit more, and we want it to not resist as much. So let me get one of these. One of these, I guess, a ladle, yeah, and put some pasta water. So I'm putting almost a ladle in. And you might be worried at first and see all the pasta water at the bottom, but don't worry, the pasta will still absorb it. And the only reason the pasta is absorbing it is because you've cooked it al dente. If you overcook it, the pasta ain't going to be absorbing anything else. There we go. So it's at the creaminess I would like. The more you stir it, a bit like risotto, the harder it's going to get because of the starch. So you stir it to mix it in. And let me put some in a plate to show you. I'll do a nice little close-up. I'm also over, by the time you come for seconds, the water is going to be completely absorbed, which is why you need to make it a little bit looser in the first place. Let me put some mushrooms on top. A little bit more pasta. Here we go. Mushroom farfalle. Everything made from scratch apart from the pasta, and everything is absolutely delicious. I hope you guys, let me switch camera. I hope you guys enjoyed the stream, and I hope you guys feel like you've learned enough to cook some mushrooms, and maybe you like mushrooms now. We don't know. And the only thing I want to tell you guys, as usual, is to cook with love and put love in everything that you do. Thank you so much for watching and have a great evening. Bye.